Good evening and welcome to This Is Ibrox. My name is Hef and I am joined tonight by Ian Mitchell. A couple of days since Sunday, Ian. The first question I'm going to ask you will be, how do you feel now that we've had a few days to digest all the different highlight videos and VAR, referee, I don't know, different decisions? How do you feel now, now that the couple of days have passed?
Hello. I would love to sit here and be positive and think, let's look at the weekend, let's get past it. I'm still annoyed at it, still let down by it, disappointed by it, all those usual things that we say about this squad. I think, see, because I was on such a high at half time, I thought they've finally turned up, they're bossing this, they're treating Celtic like we should treat Celtic, dominating them, battering them, on top of them. I was in such a high. I do it to myself, really. I looked at the live league table at half time. I knew I shouldn't have. I was looking at it thinking, stop looking at that. Stop. But no, nope. Kept looking at it. Saw us, 2 points behind Hearts at the time, I think it was. Good gap between us and Celtic. Thought, yeah, this is on. This is properly on now. We're ruining their season. We're boosting ours. And it was just, there was a pass from Hitati that I probably mentioned on Sunday night, but it's a bit of a blur. A pass from Hitati when he came on, we just switched it and we were all over the place. And just from that moment, I think I've been happy since, to be honest. So yeah, still annoyed about it, trying to move on. Not quite as angry as I was yesterday, but it's going to take a while to just get that feeling of what could have been out of my system.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we've reacted as a fan base is that we lost that game. And
yes.
Realistically, people would have went to the game on Sunday maybe with one hope, thinking as long as we don't lose the game, we could still have a chance of competing in the league. For me, I thought it was always going to be a must-win. And the reason that I thought it was going to be a must-win wasn't based off whether or not we felt that the other teams would slip up and maybe give us a chance. It was more to do with the fact that we would have had to have done a significant amount of change in our results and our playing away from home, which I just didn't really see. So therefore, all the home games for me were must-wins because of how shaky we are and our form is away from home. Our next game is at home, Ian. It's a big game. It is the quarter-final of the Scottish Cup on Sunday. I don't need to remind you, as I am going with you. How important do you feel now that the Scottish Cup will be? Because in previous years, it's always been kind of seen as the League Cup's a bit of a Mickey Mouse Cup. The Scottish Cup's only really important if you're doing it in conjunction with the league, making it a double or a treble. Is this now, Ian, is this probably the most important thing that we've got going for us just now?
It's very depressing, but I think it has to be. I think given the importance for a few different reasons, obviously the Europa League thing, it's not where anyone wants to be. We all want to be the Champions League. We want those riches, but we enjoy Europa League. We usually compete quite well in Europa League. And if the league goes how some people think it's now going to, and we might finish third, fourth, this is a massive opportunity to just take a little step ahead of that. But if we don't win on Sunday, that's why I think it's the most important thing, because I think most people now think Hearts are favourites for the league. If not, probably Celtic. If not, we are third or fourth favourite, the way the Sunday ended up. We're all very negative. There's a very real chance that Hearts could win the league, Celtic win the Scottish Cup, and we are just there, just petering the season away, playing nothing games, out of everything, and you've still got 2 months of the season left. That can't happen. And again, that's how I think we all thought it was going to happen. When Russell Martin was here and when he got sacked and when Danny Röhl came in, we'd all kind of wrote off the season. That's why it stings so much, because in classic Rangers fashion, they've got us up, they've got us back into something. When the pressure's right on, as you touched on yourself on Sunday, when that pressure hits, we fall apart. And it's going to be negative the next few days. Every Rangers fan's going to be a bit down in the dumps, but we're kind of used to it. I think that's what's so annoying here. It's that, there we go again. I've got friends who are Celtic fans. I've got some older people I know that are Celtic fans, and they're kind of saying things like, "Oh, you're still in it." I think they're trying to convince me that Rangers still in it and in for a good season. I don't know. Sunday was such a disappointment for me that we have to now win this Sunday. And my fear is that we go 2-0 up, it goes to 2-1, and the anxiety in that stadium could be chronic. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see how Danny Röhl approaches Sunday. If he goes for the same lineup that done so well, and we're brilliant first half, obviously, then just got tired, or do we change the approach knowing how Sunday went? So, yeah, it's quite a lot to chew over there, but Sunday's quite important. Let's put it that way.
For me, I think the most important thing will be how does Martin O'Neill react? Because does he just start with the second half team and try and go for the jugular for us straight away, knowing that we couldn't really handle Hatate in the middle of the park? Taneke played us off the park. Dujon Sterling was not really up for that. You looked at the first half, the only play that they had on was to try and find a way to get the ball to Kieran Tierney and play it down that channel in the hope that Maeda had a run on him. Failing that, they had nothing. They did nothing going forward. Second half, Taneke took the ball to feet and started running in front of Sterling, kind of crossing over those lines, making it really difficult for Rangers. And for me, the one thing that I would like to see Danny Röhl do, especially given the fact that they will have more fans this time round. They're going to have the full stand at the Broomlin, which I get the frustration for those that sit in the Broomlin stand because they're being displaced. And I think the way that they did the continuous credit card scheme thing, where they weren't given first dibs of those that weren't on the CCS, was lousy. But regardless of that, Celtic fans, if they had that full stand like they will on Sunday on that game that's just passed, that would have been a really toxic atmosphere for 8,000 Celtic fans to be sitting on their back in complete silence while the rest of the three stands were going crazy. So for me, if we can get another first half performance like that and completely silence them, that silence will speak volumes. And the way in which I think we should do it is to try and bridge this gap in the midfield, because if they are going to start with Hatate in the middle of the park, we're going to need to start with Diomande in there. Ian, I know you're saying there about you're interested to see how Danny Röhl will line up. How would you like to see us line up?
It's hard because, like I say, half time the other day I was thinking that's our best lineup, and I still think it is. That 11 that started the game, I think, is our best team right now. Yes, I'd rather Diomande was in there because I like Diomande, but I don't see him dropping Raskin. So there's a big difference between what I think will happen and what I would want to happen, because a few players in there ran themselves into the ground, which is credit to them. Like, they've worked their socks off, absolutely, but it just showed that Danny Röhl doesn't trust certain players on that bench, whether it's Asgard, Majovski. I would say Gassama, but he obviously came on, but again, come on the right, that's a podcast in itself, why that keeps happening. But
Did they come on? I can't remember that part.
Yeah, he didn't touch the ball very much, did he? That's what I mean. There's a few problems in there, but if you ignore Sunday and what happened there, you have to go into Old Firm with the team that you think will win the game. Not win the first half, win the game. So, yeah, I'm fully expecting Celtic to play how they finished, or near enough how they finished, with a couple of differences. But I think we have to think about the midfield, because the 4-2-2-2-2-2-2, whatever it is, it's good. It works. It's our best shape to attack teams. But the way Raskin plays, the way Chukwani play, they are a bit like Harem Scarum. They're in attack, they're in defence, and they're in the full back position. Then you can't have two midfielders do that in that formation, because the second you do that, there's space everywhere. We were on top at the first half because we were so dominant. We were in the press, we were in their faces. You can't do that for 90 minutes. We're not fit enough to do that for 90 minutes. That's why you saw Nadiri, Moore, Sterling was looking tired at the end. Both in centre mid were knackered. You can imagine the ground they've covered in that game. Just too excited. I was listening to another podcast today, and they were talking about, did the Rangers players just maybe get too high on that adrenaline? First half, they were right up for it, bouncing about, went in a tunnel, sat down for 15 minutes, decompressed, your body relaxes, and they've just not been able to hit those same heights because of the fitness levels. Decent argument, makes sense to me. Danny Röhl has to think about that, because if we start that same team before 2-2, and the team gets tired after an hour, what if we're not 2-0 up? What if we're not 3-0 up? What if it's still level at that time? And then you're having to turn to the bench, which we know isn't as strong. So that's why I would think, right, does Diamandi come in for the start, as we were saying, try and keep things a bit more controlled. And then if we have to turn to that formation with two up front, bring on your Nadiri then. Bring on Gassama on the left then for a bit of pace. I think that's how I'd approach it, which I don't like Rangers going to games cagey. I don't like us playing cautious because it doesn't work. But we know on the flip side, if the start doesn't work, you're not turning that bench thinking, right, you're my match winner, on you get. We have to maybe take a player or two out of the best 11 and put them on the bench, which sounds a bit mental, but it's a long game. Extra time is very possible. Penalties, like, we can't press the way we pressed in that game on Sunday for 120 minutes. We couldn't do it for an hour, so we can't do it for 120 minutes. Absolutely no chance. It's very modern football chat, but we need to have some finishers on the bench, some guys that can come on and actually impact the game. Like that comment that James put in at the start about Barami coming in, I wouldn't be against that at all. I don't know how you play that formation-wise, if Barami's like a number 10 or if he's on the right and just told, like, watch McGregor for us, try and keep him out of the game, which he's done before. Wouldn't be against Barami starting this game, knowing that then means you're bringing on Scott Olsen. I'd start Mikey Moore because I think he was our best player the other day. But you're bringing on Scott Olsen, you're bringing on a Connor Barron, who should be back in the squad, could be a massive player for us if you're thinking extra time and stuff. So, yeah, a little bit risk-averse for this one, but I think 120 minutes wise, 90 minutes wise, whatever it is, it makes sense to try and end stronger than we start this game.
I agree to an extent. I don't necessarily agree with the Bayrami comment, and the only reason that I don't is that I feel like he's a player that falls under the kind of recency bias of we've not
100%, yeah.
we've not seen an awful lot of him, and then he came on against Livingston and did okay. So therefore, it seems as if, well, actually, he should be playing. He didn't really do it enough for me in the first phase that we should have really welcomed him back into the fold. I think the only reason he's still there is because he didn't get a move away in January. The next question that I was going to ask Ian was, it's more based around the idea that if we did win, if we were to win and go through, is it a gimme? Do you think it's a gimme then that we take it through and get to a point where we actually, is winning Sunday enough to say that we've won the Scottish Cup?
So you're trying to set me up for somebody to clip this when Partick Thistle put us out in the semis.
You're getting bookmarked.
Yeah, it's the usual. It should be. Like, it should be. Again, I'm looking at the list in front of me just now of who's left in it. Falkirk are good. I'll give them the truth. Yeah. Falkirk are very good. If you avoided Falkirk, which a Rangers fan trying to avoid Falkirk is how depressed I am right now, but the rest of them, we have to win that. Whoever wins this game is going to win a Scottish Cup. I'm quite confident in saying it. I don't think St Mirren are any great shakes just now. Partick are league below. Dunfermline are league below. And I think Dunfermline will put out Aberdeen as well. Just shows how bad they are. And Dundee United haven't played consistently all season. So, yeah. If we win this, I'm probably stealing your next question, I think, here. But if we did end this season with the Scottish Cup, it would be something for Danny Röhl to put his hat on, kind of thing. Because we saw the comments on Sunday. I was quite surprised how many people have now gone this, not Danny Röhl out as such, but this is what's wrong with Danny Röhl. He's not learning. He's not a Rangers manager. He's not experienced enough. He's not old enough for this job. I don't buy any of that, to be honest. I wish he was learning a little bit quicker, obviously, but he's done a lot better than anyone thought he would do, obviously. So I think if you have a cup, it gives you a lot of breathing space going into next season. You don't have to start perfectly next season because, as I said at the start there, if Hearts win the league, if Celtic or any of those teams win the cup, Daniel has to go off to the perfect start next season. Has to win right from the get-go, regardless who we're playing. Otherwise, there'll be massive question marks on him, which it's just no good for anybody, obviously.
I always revert back when anybody's been talking about this in the last couple of weeks, and I always revert back to the season that we went to Seville and we came back and I went to Hampden having just came back. Basically, it felt like I'd just come back off the plane from Malaga, And I remember going to the game and such a weird atmosphere because obviously we wanted to win the Scottish Cup, but having not won the Europa League and having it as like such a big cloud over our heads, it almost just felt like we were thinking like, come on, please just give us something. So when Scott Wright scored and to kind of seal the game off, it was almost like a sigh of relief. For me, Danny Röhl does need to win a cup, and the only cup that it really has any sort of chance of winning would be to beat Celtic. And like you said, the teams that are left, Dunfermline, Dundee United, Aberdeen, Falkirk, St Mirren or Partick Thistle, I mean, St Mirren have already got a cup in the bag. They're clearly on form just now in Hampden. Is there a chance? Since then, they've fell off the wagon and they've not really been the team that they seem to be at the start. I mean, if you're Stephen Robinson and you're getting into the boardroom, he'll have got a big tick for the season as soon as that
trophy on the table.
That's me. I'm done. That you've already got what you've asked me for. So yeah, for me in that regard, I would be saying that if we were to beat Celtic and we didn't win the Scottish Cup, at that point I would maybe be in the camp of I don't know if Danny Röhl is the answer. But right now, Danny Röhl is the man for me to take Rangers forward. I think he's, given what we had before, and I know, Ian, you're fed up of hearing this, but
it triggers me.
Given what he inherited as a squad, all right, I feel that Danny Röhl has done a good job so far. Given what he's inherited, you can't deny that. But with
do you think? See if I can just jump out. I'm almost taking over as host here. But do you think he's done too well in terms of he's just raised the bar like that? I think that run between after the Hearts game at Christmas through to January, start of February, it was literally perfect. Bar the European games, but who cares about them? Domestic wise, it was perfect. I think if he had a little blip in there, and that blip had just sort of sometimes good, sometimes not so good, I don't think there would be the expectation that there's become. And that's, again, I don't like that argument because I think once you get back into position, that's done. That's well done. It's similar, I was thinking this today, it's like when Gio won that Scottish Cup, he obviously had the Europa League final, won the Scottish Cup, his stock was high in terms of our confidence in him, we all felt good, but then the season started, it didn't get very good, and he was gone by October, November time. It doesn't matter what you've done then, it's all about now for us. And I think it was the STV show again, they're talking about it when they said, should Danny Röhl get sacked if you don't win the cup? Again, I think it's madness, probably just clickbait, you and Cameron stuff with that one. But when you do get yourself back into it and you're playing against this Celtic side that everyone's saying isn't very good, they're not the best Celtic side, they've not been as consistent as a usual Celtic team. You're not outplaying or outperforming them. You're not outplaying or outperforming Hearts, obviously, and you've now got Motherwell creeping up. It's as if you've done too well at a point to now be doing, not terrible, but it's questionable now, and I think that's why some people are slightly against him.
But it comes down to the expectation, doesn't it? Because when Danny Röhl came in, I think it would be fair to say that people didn't expect an awful lot to begin with. I think everybody had thought the club was in dire straits at that point. You know, third choice appointment, he knocked the job back. Then Kevin Muscat was unavailable through his own decisions. Then Danny Röhl comes back onto the scene. It almost seemed to me as if at that point that Rangers fans were just fairly dismissive of anything to do with the club and had kind of wrote off the season. Then Danny Röhl starts to pick up some points and we hear everything good that comes from Sheffield Wednesday. Yep. Again, in line with that, and you start to feel a bit of belief. You know, you start to think, actually this guy could be quite good. I think that when it comes down to the new manager argument, and one of the questions I was going to ask you was, would winning the Scottish Cup be enough to claim this season was a success? And the reason I'm asking that is because when you, like what you were saying before, I know you don't like the comment, but given how poor it started to win that round at the start of the season. If you'd have said you're only going to win the Scottish Cup and you're going to be in a title race between Hearts and Celtic when Russell Martin first walked in the door, you would have been raging. You would have been disappointed as an outcome of that, because given Kavanagh's come in, all the money had come in, Russell Martin seemed to be the best thing since sliced bread. You would have been hoping that would have been a season that we could have won the league. Now where we are, right, we've only got, 9 more games left.
Yep.
Would you take a Scottish Cup? Because let's not forget, if Rangers were to go on and win the Scottish Cup, they would enter the Europa League at the same place as finishing second would. The only way that you can get into the Champions League is by winning the league and then obviously going through the qualifying phases. Failing that, the person who, if you finish second place and you don't win your Europa League qualifier match, you drop into the Europa Conference League. Yep. If you win the Scottish Cup and you don't win your Europa League matches, you do not. That is a new rule, I believe, that's just came out. I was reading it today. So if you don't, then you're facing a potential no Europe. What would that mean, Ian? What would that mean for Danny Röhl to try and bring in new players? If we didn't win the Scottish Cup, if we didn't finish in a second position, how will he manage to actually draw in any decent players next season?
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I think a lot of players, more from further afield, I'm thinking Europe, will look at Rangers and think, right, I get exposure to European football. You've seen plenty of guys come here or come to Celtic, not do brilliant in the league, but do better stuff in Europe. Like Calvin Bassey, for example, if he had just had his domestic seasons with Rangers, he doesn't get that big money move. It's what he done in the Europa League that got him the big move. It's fact. There'll be more examples that I can't think of this second, but that's going to be the big carrot on the stick. Look, come to Rangers. Yes, there's some rubbish away games. Yes, there's plastic pitches, but you get the Old Firm and you get the European games. That's your glamour moments of the season. It's why I think a lot of Rangers players over the years have raised their levels. European games, like Raskin has, John Lundstrom used to do it constantly. That's kind of what they're here for, which we don't want here. We want you to come here and win the league. That's always priority. For these guys, it's not. We're always going to be that stepping stone. So if you can't say to a player, "Oh, you have European football guaranteed," that's a big negative. It could be the difference between choosing a rival over us or going down south compared to here. Because I always think that's mad when a player chooses the Championship, for example. There was the defender, is it Cordoba? I think it was, who went to Norwich over us, the big centre back.
Yeah.
Yes, Norwich can probably pay more money than we can, wages wise. I'd imagine they've got more of a budget, but surely you'd pick Ray. I thought it was a mad decision, knowing that we have Europe and we have the glamour. But if you don't have Europe, I think that player pool just limits massively. Budgets limit massively. Players might not want to stay if we've not got European football. There's so many negatives that come with that. So, yeah, we need European football. It's a funny one because I think if we go into Conference League, we have a right good chance at it, but it would still be that's only the Conference League. But so, yeah, it's like what I said right at the start, the Scottish Cup just becomes that more important. And in terms of a successful season, it's a little defeatist, but if you won the Scottish Cup and came second to Hearts, there's been worse seasons. There's been worse seasons than that. If you win the Scottish Cup and come fourth or come third behind Hearts and Celtic, that's probably not a good season for me. It's that fine line. Maybe it's a bit of ego kicking in, just finishing above Celtic, getting second place, but yeah, and there's going to be a lot more twists and turns. I'm trying to tell myself this today. Celtic play tomorrow night. They're playing Aberdeen, so I think we all know how that's going to go, but you never know. It could take a couple of results for Hearts and Celtic, and suddenly we are back in it. I'd love to see it, but I think right now Scottish Cup, as the title of this podcast says, is the main hope for European football right now.
I don't actually think it really changes in either. I completely agree with what you're saying, but I don't think it changes how we prepare for matches, because it's not as if we were in the Europa League, for example, and that was the only, when it was Gio, there was a whole lot of chatter about. In fact, sorry, it wasn't Gio. When under Clement, the whole chat was we need a good run in Europe, because if we don't have a good run in Europe, there's a good chance that we won't make up the coefficiency points for like to actually get to a point where Champions League would be possible, given the fact that we've basically carried the league into these positions for many years now. Now we're in a position where, like you said, if we beat Celtic on Sunday, there's not really that chance that it's like, oh, well, we'll have to rest players because we're playing the semi-final against Dunfermline. You know, like, you would like to think that we would have enough squad depth to compete in the league and in the Scottish Cup. But for me, it needs to be something that we can't go into Sunday thinking, well, this game has to be completed today, therefore nobody goes, we're going to be a bit more cautious. We're just going to see out the 90 minutes. We'll take it to extra time. If we can't get the job done, we'll take it to penalties. We need to go for it. I think we need to have a bit more of a dominant display, because Sunday doesn't change anything about the league in terms of the numbers that will be on the table, but it does change quite a lot about that momentum, because we go and beat Hearts and we're within touching distance of top. We then draw the next two games and all of a sudden the league's done. Like you said, Ian, if we beat St Mirren away and Hearts fail to win, Celtic fail to win, immediately all the heartache from Sunday is gone, because we're then, who cares? You dust yourself off. We didn't get beat. We drew the game. We're still in contention. All we have to do is go to Tynecastle and get a result and go to Celtic Park and not get beat. So in that sense, you go, oh, that's easy. Everything's fine. But actually, the amount of times that we've struggled this season. Yeah. Exactly. If I was a betting man just now, and somebody said to me, how many of those remaining games do you think we would win? I don't know how much money I would like to put on that bet, because I don't think we'll lose a lot of them, to be honest. No. But you can't win the league by drawing every single game that you play. And that's ultimately what's killed us. The one good thing, Ian, is that we can't draw on Sunday. We can't possibly draw. So I will be joining you on Sunday. We will be at the game. Hopefully it's a good game. I'm sure for those of you that are going along that managed to get a ticket, it will be a strange atmosphere seeing the full stand behind the goal at the Broomlin. How
do you feel about that, by the way? Because part of me likes it. And a kind of strange.
It's what I remember.
See, when you're growing up, I used to sit in the main stand, kind of far away from where the away fans are. Maybe that plays a part. But a massive joy of mine was watching that stand empty.
Yeah.
Kind of sick way, like when we were winning or got the lead and you just saw it suddenly go from green to blue. I still love that. I think the Old Firm derby, Glasgow derby, whatever you're calling it these days, I think it's missed that. And again, it's nice to know that if we do get drawn against Celtic in the Cup next year, this can hopefully become the norm. I'd be all for that. I know it does some of our own fans out, and like you said, the way this has gone, it's messy from the club. Very nice, it's been messy, but it does add to it a little bit. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that.
I used to sit in the family section with my dad and my brother, and they both had adult season tickets, and I was still as a juvenile, so we only ever got 2 tickets. So when my brother started to work, I started to get the Old Firm tickets. And I remember the first game that I went to was the one that the league was already done, but Charlie Adams scored the free kick. Chris Boyd scored his only Old Firm goal.
Is that the under the wall free kick? Is that one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. And I was sat right in the corner. I met my mate for school, who is no longer with us, but he was an absolute nutcase. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Big him. And he was there with his wee brother. And I was like, this is mad. Like, this is the best game I've ever been to. And the reason why it was the best game was because you were sat right beside them, and there was so many of them. And like you said, it was dead silent. None of them would look at you. They were all just staring out into space and making sure that they never clocked eye contact with you. And then at halftime, I met Michael Mols. So for me, I've only got fond memories of playing against... apart from the Boxing Day game where Scott McDonald scored on the half turn, that wasn't so good. I didn't enjoy that game. But don't talk about that one. Talk more about the Kevin Thompson 1-0 game that I was right there as well. But like that, I grew up watching from the corner because of the allocation. Everybody from the Broomland shifted into that wee corner. It was the norm. It's what happened. And I think that if we get back to that, obviously we're going to get the return. Should things go well, and it's organised in a decent manner, that we would then get the return allocation when requested at Celtic Park. Which again, when I attended that, we got absolutely hammered. Gary Hooper made an absolute joke of David Weir that game, but
yeah, I used to hate him. Yeah,
it was brilliant. It was so good because there was so many of you, whereas now you're fighting for tickets and then you're having to get into the stand like 4 hours before the game kicks off, basically camping outside. It's a joke. Like, people talk about this idea that, oh, it'll only work because the police have to do this and the police have to do that. They did it 20 years ago. Like, it's not that difficult. Just shut off from the ticket office. Shut off the bit going down towards the main stand along.
Yep.
And that's it. It's not any different to a European night. It's just that there are more of them. And that's fine. Just cordon it off like you used to always do, and it'll be fine. But no, I'm looking forward to Sunday purely for that aspect, just in the hope that there are more sad people in the stadium and more happy people with the 3 quarters that are left. But we will be back live on Thursday, I believe, to go over some more content about what sort of team that we've got, knowing a bit more information about team news across the week. Yep. Like you said, Ian, Barron could be back. Whether or not Chermiti holding his back for the full of the second half was a knock, or whether or not it was as a result from landing from 11 feet on on top of it when he scored that wonder strike. But all of that will be talked about on Thursday, and me and Ian will be at the game on Sunday, hopefully celebrating a win after the game. Thank you for those that joined us. Please make sure that you like and subscribe and share any content that you see. It goes a long way. But for now, I will say good night. Cheers.